Hi, everyone, and welcome to Mystery Mingle. I'm so excited because we have a special guest today. Hi, Manon.
Hi, Lisa. It's great to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. So this is the first time we've ever done an interview with someone who is not an author, but very cozy mystery adjacent. So we have a ton of questions today. So it's going to be a great interview because Manon does a ton of stuff, cozy mystery related. So, and fun fact, we're both in San Diego. You want to tell us a little bit more just about yourself and what you do?
Sure. I read a lot of mysteries. I always say my name is Manon and I read mysteries, but that's pretty much in my username, I guess. I made my Bookstagram account in 2021 and just started reading a lot and it went from there. But that was inspired by me working in publishing. I work in self-publishing and I really wanted a way to connect more with books because I wasn't reading very regularly. So
Mhm.
creating a Bookstagram account let me do that. And I feel very lucky to have found a community that loves mystery books just as much as I do. So it's really great.
Very cool. So, as a native San Diegan, are you a surfer? Do you hang out at the beach all the time?
Oh God, no. I'm like I tried surfing once when I was a kid and I fell off. So not really my not really my thing, but I love going to the beach just because you get to read on the beach. Honestly,
Mhm.
it's like the best thing to do during the summer, but I really the only thing that I take advantage of is the nice weather and I read outside a lot, but I don't do a lot of the stereotypical surfer San Diego things, I guess. Except for like burritos and like Mexican food and things like that, but no surfing.
No, yeah. Yeah, it's funny because when people hear you're like coastal, they're always like, oh, you must be at the beach every day. I'm like, I should be, but I never really
Yeah,
know.
exactly. That's how it goes.
Well, do you have a favorite coffee shop that you hang out at to read books?
No, I like to read at home mostly if I'm not like on the beach or outside or whatever. But there's a few on the coast that I really like in Encinitas,
Hmm.
downtown Encinitas. There's Better Buzz, and there's also this Italian place kind of on the coast, and they're really fun little hip spots to hang out. They're loud, and I can't deal with that when I'm trying to focus. I'm not that
Mm,
kind of person, but
okay.
yeah,
Got it. Do you have like a reading nook at home that you like hanging out, or are you just like a couch, bed, doesn't matter?
Anywhere.
Anywhere.
I would love to build myself like a cute little reading nook, but I haven't quite gotten to that point yet. But isn't that the dream to like have like a nice couch and all your surrounded by
Yeah.
all your books? I see that a lot on like Instagram and TikTok, and someday
Yeah,
I'll
I
do
see
that.
those people with those really nice what are those called? Like the bay windows and they have like
Oh
a
my
whole
god.
little inset right there. And I'm like,
Yeah.
does anyone really have that? Because I think about it and I'm like, where are you gonna lean back? Right? Like there's windows
Yeah.
behind you and to the side of you,
They
but
look beautiful, but it's
mhm,
like how practical is that?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, well, I guess I should ask your breakdown too. Are you ebooks, physical books,
Ooh.
paperback, hardback, audio? What's your thing?
The only thing I really don't do is audiobooks. And
Mm,
I've tried so many times. The only way I can listen to audiobooks is if I'm doing something while listening to them, and usually it's like knitting. That's the only thing that's really worked for me is like knitting or crafting.
uh-huh.
But anytime I have to like I don't know, I just stop listening. I do the same thing with podcasts. It's like if I'm cleaning or walking, I have to listen to music because I my mind will stray. But otherwise I prefer print books generally, but I have a Kindle and I do that like takes ebooks to the next level to actually have a Kindle. Um, and that's I get a lot of arcs on ebooks, so have to do it
Got
that
it.
way. Yeah.
And are you so paperbacks? Are you ordering them offline, or do you like going into the bookstore and like picking up a big stack?
I used to be a Barnes and Noble girl because I don't have the only like indie bookstore near me. There are used bookstores, which I love, and I
Mhm.
will happily go to those. But Warwick's in La Jolla is the other one that I really love to go to, if
Oh, okay.
not Barnes and Noble, because that's the only one that's close to me. But I these days I don't buy a lot of books because I get a lot sent to me to where I get really overwhelmed with the amount of books I do have. It feels a little greedy to go out and buy more, but um, yeah, I there's just nothing like going in person and shopping like that and
Mhm.
like I find out a lot about a lot of books online, but I don't, it doesn't match the experience of going and making the discovery for yourself.
Yeah. Well, and here's the best question. So you finished a book. What do you do with that book? Do you like keep it on your shelf? Do you try to loan it to a friend? Do you
Hmm.
like toss it?
Um, I don't know about you, but I have such a problem with like getting rid of books that I have read. So this shelf behind me these are all books that I have read, and I have another
Mhm.
shelf of unread books. And so then I have this tradition now of like bringing it and putting it on the shelf once I'm done, like a
Mhm.
little sick trophy or whatever. But yeah, like even books that I don't like, I still want them on my shelf because I read them, you know? So there's some back here that I just didn't care for, but I keep them because they look really pretty.
Mhm.
But maybe when I start really getting overwhelmed, I can start like cleaning them out. But I haven't quite gotten to that headspace yet of getting rid of books because they're just so special.
Got it. All right. And I forgot to ask you. So, do you have a favorite restaurant or a favorite ice cream shop in San Diego?
Oh my God. You know what's a really good ice cream place is again, this is in Carlsbad, so in North County, but it's called Jenny's, Jeni
Oh,
apostrophe
yeah, I've
S.
seen that. They're like in
Yeah,
grocery stores, right?
there's other locations I think too. And yeah, I think they sell their ice cream other places, but they have like really good flavors and they have this it's I think brambleberry crisp or something. It's like got berries and like pie crust in it or whatever. It's so good. But yeah, I love it.
Jenny's. Very cool. Yeah, I should
Yeah.
check it out. So, all right. So, how there are so many different genres. I'm sure you read you obviously read other genres other than mystery, right?
I have a very broad interpretation of mystery. So,
Okay.
like, I'll do like thrillers and suspense and anything that kind of has a mysterious element to it. But generally, I'm pretty focused on mystery. I used to read romance occasionally, just like
Mhm.
as a palate cleanser type of thing, but I don't really do that anymore. I don't, I,
Mhm.
I don't really know why, but I, yeah, it's almost always only mystery and like only
Okay.
the books that I'm talking about online are what I'm actually reading.
And so, did that start like when you were a kid, like, or just is it more recent that you discovered mysteries?
When I was like making my Bookstagram account, I was thinking about like what I actually read, and it's really only been mystery. I mean, growing up, I obviously read Twilight, but
Mhm.
other than that, like as a kid, I was obsessed with this series called Trixie Belden, which is like a Nancy Drew
Mhm.
character. She's like a teen sleuth from the 50s. And so that got me into it. And then there were a few other books that I grew up reading, like other series that were for kids that were mystery. And so when I was thinking about what I wanted to read more of, it wasn't like anything but mystery. I just really think that that's my thing. And I just naturally gravitate towards that. And I'm not going to work against that. Unless I see a book that's like really interesting outside of that scope, it's going
Mhm.
to be mystery.
Okay, cool. And does that translate to your TV watching as well?
Yeah. Yeah. I watch a lot of like, I used to more. I don't watch a lot of TV anymore, but I've been working my way through the X Files, which I think I
Oh,
count that as a mystery because it
yeah,
is
for
like a
sure.
little bit spooky. But yeah, I don't I don't know what else I would really.
And you like X Files better than Fringe?
I haven't watched Fringe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm working through X Files is pretty long. I didn't realize,
Yeah,
but
it's on for a
we're going
while.
through it. Yeah, but yeah,
Yeah, if you like X Files, you might like Fringe.
I'll look into that. I think so. My boyfriend and I are watching X Files, and then we made plans to watch Sherlock right after to rewatch it because we had
Oh,
neither of us had seen like the last season or something. So
mhm.
we just decided that. But that's also a commitment because they're long.
Yeah, I was surprised. I was like, oh, it's going to be a TV show. And then I was like, oh, wait, it's like a movie,
Yeah, it's like 90 minutes each episode. It's kind of crazy.
really long. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, for mysteries, okay, so for mysteries, let's talk about all the different subgenres like procedurals, action thrillers,
Mm.
capers, historical. Like, when you rank these, like, which ones do you love the most and which ones are you probably like not as interested in?
Let me think here. I really like traditional murder mysteries.
Okay.
And so Agatha Christie, obviously, like anything detective is really great because you can really follow along the mystery, even though I'm not very like procedural with the way that I think about the mystery. I
Mhm.
do like the opportunity to guess and have that like fair play element. So I love that about like any sort of traditional mystery. I do like a little bit of like romantic suspense. So Elizabeth Peters is like one of my all-time favorite authors, and she does all of her books have like a little bit of romance to them, which I really love.
Mhm.
But I think the genre that I read the that I don't like the most out of all types of mysteries are thrillers.
Mm.
I'm like not much of a thriller girl, and I've tried, but I find them really hard. They're really hit or miss because you don't know if it's worth reading a thriller until after you've read it. You know, because you're waiting to like that final twist to really see if
Mhm.
the buildup was worth it. So I haven't had the best luck, and so I just kind of stick with my favorites, which are traditional mysteries.
So for thrillers that you don't like, are you talking about the psychological thrillers where at the end, I always feel like the end it's always, and it was all just a dream or something stupid
Oh
like
my
that.
god,
Or
yeah.
like, do you like, are you talking about thrillers like where there's usually a serial killer or something?
I've read mostly like psychological thrillers, I would
Okay.
think, where there's like some big reveal. And I mean, I'm just hoping for something more than like, oh, she was crazy, which
Right.
I've come across a few times, and it's like, okay, I want a little bit more here.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I absolutely 100% refuse to read psychological thrillers. I've read like
Mhm.
3 or 4 when they first like were popular with the whole Gone Girl, and
Mhm.
they all were the same way where like she's in a mental institution and this was all just in her head and I'm like, "Oh
Yeah,
my god, I
and it's
can't." I'm
always a
like,
woman.
yeah, and I'm so
Yeah,
angry that I wasted all this time reading this.
yeah,
I don't know why
it's
they keep
frustrating,
making
and
them.
and that's like one of the big. I get sent a lot of thrillers because those always have like big money behind them. I feel like they're trying to
Yeah.
build. Publishers really put a lot of effort into like pushing their thrillers, and I try them every once in a while, and I have a few that I've really enjoyed, but I think it's hard to write a good thriller.
Yeah. One that's like real and not the whole she's crazy and just
Yeah,
some silly explanation at the end.
yeah.
For sure. So, okay, so let's talk about the thing that we do love, which is cozy. So, the cozy
Mhm.
subgenres, what do you think? Let's just go through each of them. What are your thoughts on the PWF, the paranormal women's fiction?
I don't read a lot of paranormal stuff,
Okay, you're
and
more
I know that
contemporary.
it's popular, and someday I would like to get into it more, but I don't know if that's for me.
Okay. What about the so then same thing probably with that new trend, which I don't even know if it's a trend. It's just like I feel like one guy wrote a fable kind of
Mm.
mystery and then he remarketed it as like a fable cozy mystery. Have you seen those?
I don't know if I've seen those,
It's
but
like
any
there's
sort of like
an ogre on
fantastical.
Mhm.
A what?
There's like an ogre on the front, like Shrek
Oh, the
character.
cozy fantasy, the legends and lattes.
Yes, that was it.
Yeah, I've been interested in reading that because I've dabbled in fantasy, but
Mhm.
it does get to be kind of a lot when the whole world is going to collapse if this hero doesn't, do what they need to do. But so I like the idea of a cozy fantasy because it is low stakes, but
Mhm.
I haven't read that one, no.
Okay. Um, Space cozies.
Do you
Because
have
they're
any
kind of
recommendations?
well, they're kind of sci-fi. I love Diane Valaire's space cozies. It's just this woman who like stows away on a ship because she wants to be like a space captain, and then she discovers a murder. So uh, I guess it's more like being on a cruise ship, almost like
Hmm.
space, but you're in space.
I think anything that has a fixed location,
Hmm.
so it's kind of a closed circle situation, is really fun. So I feel like I'd probably like the space one. Plus, I'm a bit of a Star Wars girl, so
Mm.
I mean, I'm not opposed to space things.
Okay. And then, okay, so let's just talk contemporaries then. What's your favorite go to? Like when you see baking, pets, what else is there? Library, crafting.
Hmm. Probably, I do a little bit of culinary. I like cozy mysteries that have, or any mystery that has a really strong hook. But a lot
Mhm.
of times I feel like the culinary element is just slipped in there really well because it fits with a lot of different mysteries. Like, probably my favorite cozy mystery series ever is the Secret Staircase Mysteries by Gigi Pondian.
Mhm.
And those are magic themed because this main character is a stage illusionist, and her family is like a family of magicians. And the culinary element is really like woven into the books because her grandfather is from India and he has like all these like Indian inspired recipes. And that was like such a surprise to me to find the recipes in the book, because the mystery has is like they are these technically complicated like puzzle mysteries that are very fair play, and all this like magic theme going on. And then there's food. It's like I just love that you can add that to things like a mystery and have it be, not even the main focus, but it's always really fun.
Yeah, I love food-based cozies as well. And it's so funny you mentioned an Indian mystery. There was I haven't read that book, but there's I can't forgetting the name now. I did a whole a video on it. I love these Indian mysteries that
Mm.
it's written by this British guy, and they're just hilarious and they're so good. They're such like sometimes with cozies, I feel like it's more about the character building and there's kind of a mystery going on. But these are like amazing mysteries where like someone's really thought it like Agatha Christie
Hmm.
style, but it's also
Hmm.
funny. And they're Indian. So
Yeah.
I feel like not a lot of people are reading, and it takes them so long. It takes them like 2 or 3 years to write one. So
Wow.
I think he's putting a lot
I
of time.
imagine because sometimes I read a mystery and it's like, I don't know how Agatha Christie wrote whatever 63 books or
Mhm.
however many she wrote, because some of those they're so technically complicated, and I can't
Mhm.
imagine um, plotting something like that and having it
Yeah.
and doing it so quickly. But I totally believe, you know, that it would take 2 years to write something like that. Absolutely.
Yeah, sometimes I mean I love like all cozies, but sometimes I want like a really good like who done it where I have to really think and like take
Hmm.
notes and study it, right? To figure
Yeah,
out what's going on. Yeah.
definitely.
So let's talk about you are and I saw you said you're a professional net galley reviewer. So what is that?
I don't, is that on my website? I
It
think it's a
is. I think
badge.
yeah.
Yeah. So they give you, so NetGalley gives you badges, I guess, to motivate you to review. But I think that's one of the first ones they give you. But so you sign up and do you use NetGalley?
I do. And as soon as I saw your professional reviewer, I was like, oh, I feel so guilty. I have so many books like in my queue that I have to review that
Oh
I just haven't
God.
yet.
I know. I when I first signed up, I was like, I was requesting a lot of things because I thought I wouldn't get approvals for any of them because I was new.
Mhm.
But depending on like the publisher that you're requesting from and the book, like I think not a lot of people request the books that I was requesting because I got approved for a whole bunch. So it's really easy to go overboard. Um, but yeah, it just kind of toned down my NetGalley usage this year because I was getting a little bit like I'm requesting too much. But I think my
Well,
shelf is empty for the first time
oh,
like
wow.
in 2 years. Yeah.
Well, it's hard because the covers are so pretty and they haven't come out yet. And so you're like
Yeah.
so excited to read them. And you're like, yes, please.
Yeah. And then, but like, then you're taking like an even bigger chance on the book because a lot those books are ones that like new to me authors or
Mm,
debuts or
yeah.
books that don't have any reviews yet. And sometimes like it could be really hit or miss. So I think it's really about knowing yourself and your tastes when you go into something like that, and like, requesting the books that you really think that you're going to enjoy. Because I'm not the fastest reader, and so I really
Mm.
try to prioritize books that I'm going to enjoy. And this year, it's like a huge priority for me to DNF books that are just not cutting it, and
Okay.
that's such a hard thing to do for a lot of readers. But yeah, you really have to know yourself and your reading
Yeah,
habits.
let's talk about that. So, because I don't know if it's guilt or I feel like a failure or I feel lazy, but
Hmm.
even if I don't like a book, I will feel compelled to finish it. Even if I skim through it, I don't know why I feel like bad
I
DNFing.
think it's like, I don't know, maybe it's like a leftover from childhood people pleasing where you just want to, like, you have to do it. And it's such a hard habit to break, especially when you're reading like a thriller or a
Mhm.
mystery where the end result is so important to the enjoyment.
Oh, great.
Like I could have a horrible time reading a book, and then if the final twist or the big reveal is like really unexpected, I could be like, oh, maybe this was a good book that I enjoyed, or maybe like I could say something positive about it. But I think giving yourself permission to just quit after a certain number of pages is a skill that you have to practice. And is reading. It's not supposed to be a high pressure activity. So
Right.
trying to read for my own enjoyment.
Yeah, and sometimes like some books start out slow and then they get better. So sometimes I wonder
Mhm.
like, is it gonna get better? Do I keep going? And then like by chapter 7, I'm like, am I still waiting? It's like
Yeah.
do
When's
I
it going to happen?
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
so I guess if you're a slow reader, like what's your time frame for like how many books are you reading on average a week or a month?
Um, well, last year I read like 65 books or something. So
Okay.
I read like 1 to 2 a week, I would
Mhm.
say. It's slowed down a little bit lately because I've been writing more, but I, I'm not, I don't know how to describe it, but I'm not like a super fast reader, but I do prioritize reading, you
Mhm.
know? So it's not like I'm doing other things or like watching shows or something, but if there's something that I want to read, I can get through it pretty quickly. It's just whether or not I have time to do it or I go through a big slump and it's like, I don't want to read anything. But
Right.
yeah.
No, I think that might be better. I mean, there was one year I don't know why I made it a goal to read 300 books and I did it. And a lot of them were audiobooks, but
Oh, yeah.
I didn't enjoy it. Like afterwards I was
Yeah.
like, I don't even remember what I read.
Yeah. Yeah. I think like taking the time to really sit and sink in with a book is like a luxury,
Mhm.
really. Because a lot of times I'm reading arcs that are coming out and I feel like I have to get through them quickly so that I could read more arcs. But
Yeah.
this year I'm just trying to think like, okay, I want to enjoy what I'm reading. I'll DNF when I'll
Mhm.
stop reading when I don't enjoy it.
Uh-huh.
Especially if it was like an arc or given to me for free because I have like no investment in it. Um, and I'm just trying to really love it, like take it slow and really sink into the mystery and not try to push through something that I don't enjoy.
Right. And so is your boyfriend also a book reader?
He's a listener. He's not like me.
Okay.
So
Audiobook.
he loves audiobooks and podcasts, and he listens to them while he drives or he's gaming a lot, so he does that.
Mhm.
But he doesn't really read in the same way.
And you guys
But
don't ever read together, like hanging out. He says,
no, I wonder if he would be open to that at some point. But he's very like social too. So if his like friends are
Mhm.
online, he likes to talk to them too. So
Mhm.
I'm a bit of a homebody, but um yeah, I think that would be fun. We don't read the same types of books either. He's like I'm Agatha Christie and he's like Lovecraft. He
Okay.
likes the sci-fi or the horror, that kind of stuff. And sometimes he makes me or he doesn't make me, but he wants me to listen to certain podcasts that he likes that are
Oh.
fiction podcasts, and they're kind of scary. And that's not for me. I'm not a scary girl, so
Yeah, I
yeah.
think it makes a huge difference. Like I think the only time I remember my first boyfriend right out of college also loved books. We'd go to the bookstore together.
Mm,
Like that was our Saturday weekend thing. And then we get a bunch of books and we come back home and we sit on the couch and read. And that was like very nice and enjoyable. And ever since then, I've never met another guy who likes reading. I don't know why. You never like think to ask. So,
yeah.
are you single? What's your sign? Do you read books? Do you like sitting and reading? Right? Like,
Can we read together or can we
yeah.
do like similar activities? I think for me that's like a good thing of quality time is we're in the same room and we're
Mhm.
both doing our own thing, but we're together. So I think in a
Yeah.
way it is kind of a similar experience of like spending time with somebody. It's just you're doing your own things.
Yeah. Yeah. And now that we're talking about it, because I'm single again, maybe I'm going to just put that on my profile.
Mm,
Wants to sit and read books on the couch together.
yeah. Or what was the most recent book that you read? And that'll weed
Mhm.
out everybody who hasn't read since middle
Right.
school or whatever. Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like sometimes people just look up self help impressive books or biographies and then
Yeah.
pretend.
Nonfiction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Painful. So, well, how do you have time then for your Bookstagram account? And how do you determine like what to put on there or what not to post?
So every other post is pretty much a review, and then I alternate with like reels or fun posts that are not review based, but I'm trying to, I mean, when I first started, I thought every post had to be a book review. And so I
Mhm.
felt like, oh my God, I have to read a lot of books. And I started reading a lot more books, but then I realized that like a Bookstagram account can be so much more than just about what you're actually reading. It could be about the experience of reading. You could make memes or like reels joking about the content of what you read. Like I do that a lot with mystery books. And those
Mhm.
get really popular because it's like this common shared experience. So, I mean, it is like trying to make a space that's uh, collaborative and fun and relatable, and like the book reviews, I love posting them and I love having that content or those featured on my page. But from what I've noticed from an engagement standpoint, it's not the most popular content.
Hmm.
It's like that's my bread and butter, but like the dessert is what's popular, which is like the reels and like the fun stuff. So
Mhm.
I try to have a balance with that. Um, and that's like easy to maintain throughout the day. And then I can go and read after work, that sort of thing.
And then what tools are you using to create the reels and the posts?
I use a lot of Canva for like any sort of graphic. I
Mhm.
love Canva, obviously. And CapCut I use for the reels. And
Okay.
so I find a lot of templates on CapCut or on TikTok because I'm on TikTok too. And they're really easy to like adapt to like mystery content. So anytime I have an idea for it, I just like save the template and like jot down a prompt. I use Notion
Mhm.
for my Bookstagram like tracking stuff. So I just like jot down notes or like a caption, and hopefully I'll never run out of content ideas. But yeah, I think it's just about thinking about it like constantly in a way
Mhm.
instead of like trying to just like oh my God, I have to post something and I have no idea what I'm going to post. Well, I already have like a list of ideas. So it's been really helpful.
So you're on TikTok and Instagram, and then are
Mhm.
there any other platforms you're on?
No, I'm thinking about YouTube,
Oh,
but I'm
okay.
not quite there yet. Yeah.
And so do you have a different strategy for TikTok than you do for Instagram? And what is that?
Yeah. So TikTok, I have to be a lot chattier on there because,
Mhm.
it's that kind of like platform. So when I started it, I was so nervous to be on camera, and I'm not like very naturally good at the TikToks because, it's a lot of like thinking on your feet and like editing it to kind of work. But once I got a little bit of practice in, I feel like I started to make content that I liked there. So it is like I don't do single book reviews usually on TikTok.
Mhm.
I'll do like author roundups, or sometimes I show off because I have like some old books. You can kind of see them over
Mhm.
here. But like I'll show off books that I have in my collection or just kind of fun things like that um, I probably wouldn't do on TikTok. But overall, I think my strategy is just really chatty on TikTok, like having
Okay.
my face in it or doing a voiceover. And Instagram, I'm a lot quieter, and I haven't quite figured out if I should be chattier on Instagram or not. But we'll see what happens with TikTok right now because it's kind of in a limbo state. But it's been a great challenge, and I mean, if you're good on camera, I think you should definitely try TikTok too. I don't. Are you on TikTok?
I'm not. And it's kind of funny you mentioned that. I actually made the decision yesterday. I'm going to leave Instagram and TikTok because
Mm.
it's just like it's so much content I have to create. And like the more content I create for those different platforms, one, it drains me because I don't really love them. And then two, I don't
Mhm.
have as much time to write. Whereas like
Yeah.
I love YouTube. That's like literally if someone would just pay me to do YouTube full time, I'd be so happy. And doing the interviews like this, one, they're
Mhm.
fun. Two, I get to meet people. And three, they're really easy because they're live. So there's no like staging and scripting and, just kind
Edit
of go.
like yeah.
Yeah, you just wing it.
Yeah. I feel like so many people I talk to about Instagram, I mean, that app is like I don't know what they're doing algorithm wise, but it's very difficult to keep up because Bookstagram originated when Instagram was very photo based and now it's very video based. So
Mhm.
it's very hard to adapt, which is why my content, I try to keep it really balanced between photos and reels because I know the reels are what they want.
Mm.
So I don't know. I've been on Instagram for like 10 years or longer than 10 years before it was owned by Meta, and I feel like I've had this like deep relationship with the app, and I've been with it through so much that I don't want to see it like change, and I don't want to leave it. But it gets frustrating because a lot of that same bookish content that I joined the app for is not getting
Mhm.
shown to me. So I understand all sorts of frustrations about that.
Yeah, that and Facebook too. I was talking to my friend, and we talk on the phone like 3 or 4 times a week. And it's funny because she's like, "Oh yeah, I posted blah blah blah," and I'm like, "When did you post that?" She's like 2 months ago. And I don't somehow in Facebook, I've never seen any of her feeds, so
Yeah.
it's
I've had
weird.
to go through my like the accounts that I really want to see their content, and I favorite the
Mhm.
account so I actually can see it, because
Mm,
otherwise it like never gets shown to me.
yeah.
So yeah.
Do you have a favorite platform? I guess as a both as a creator and a content consumer, like what are your go tos?
I like, as a creator, I am most comfortable with Instagram
Hmm.
because I know what I'm doing there, and I can like I like the story feature. TikTok I use a lot, but I'm a little less comfortable posting there, but always getting better. But I also use a lot of Reddit. I'm on Reddit a
Hmm.
lot, and I don't really post there, although I have a Mystery Manon account. Um, but I like consuming there because it is a nice break from the visuals, because there's a lot of reading,
Mm,
and less like performance based like other social media. So
right.
yeah.
Well, let's talk to like as a book reader, what do you think about the authors that are on Instagram and TikTok? Like, are there some that you have that are favorites, and there are some we don't have to mention names. Some where people post things that are kind of cringeworthy, like where you'd like, oh, someone should give them a memo or give them some advice.
Well, I think I would cut everybody a little slack on social media, because especially when you're an author, like there's so many things you have to think about, and social media can be easily an afterthought. I think some authors are out there killing it because they are naturally like online, and they kind of get it
Mhm.
that way. But I think the one faux pas I would advise authors against, just by what I've seen, is posting only graphics, um, and or posting only personal photos. Like I
Babies.
think, yeah, I think having a personal account for that stuff is ideal, and then having an author account where you're talking about books is going to be really helpful. And posting the real photos and like stuff that you're up to that's book related is like, that would be my
Mhm.
advice to authors from what I've seen. Just because the posting the graphics, I mean, nobody sees them because Instagram does not push them, and also they're not very like engagement worthy, because it's kind of
Mhm.
like, oh, my ebook's on sale, that sort of thing. And I love authors. Like I want to see who they are, because if I follow an author for like making writing, I read their book, I really loved it, and I want to like get to know them a little bit better. So don't be afraid to get a little bit um personal, but keep it bookish.
Yeah, I think that's great and I'm actually happy that the algorithm specifically weeds out stock photos because, like, I'm
Mm.
like not here to be like, oh, I did see that on Adobe Stock. I thought about downloading that. I don't like. Why are you showing that?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
We've all seen it.
Yeah.
So, I was thinking about. So I'm redoing my website and I am adding blog posts. So I was just wondering,
Mm.
what do you think about blogging? Is that something you think you're going to explore, or just kind of it wasn't really worth it for you?
Um, I used to be really into blogging. I had a blog in high school that I was like a fashion blog, and I loved it because you get
Fun.
to sit down. It's like a writing practice. You get to sit
Mm,
down and kind of put together a post. But I don't really do it much anymore. On my website, my blog posts are author interviews that I do for the Clues letter, my
mhm,
newsletter. And so I post those on my website. And what I've noticed is that my website's ranking for like traffic is pretty high because I'm consistently posting on there. So I do think it could be really great, but I haven't quite cracked the code on like how if I want to do more like
mhm.
actual blog post style blogs, and like what I would even say, because my book reviews get posted on Goodreads and Instagram, and I'm not sure if it's worth doing them on like a blog. Um, but I think posting consistently on a website is just a good strategy. And if you like writing, I mean, it's kind of nice. I
Right.
kind of miss the blog era, like 2010 to 2015. I feel like blogs were like so much fun.
It was very like much thing to do then. Yeah.
Yeah.
So your clues letter is actually very elaborate and like very well done, and it's
Thank
packed with
you.
tons of information. I mean, it feels like a whole like blog post in and of itself. Like, how much time does
Mhm.
it take you to put that together?
Well, sometimes I think there's two types of like preparation to like put it out. One is gathering the content, and the second part is actually writing it and putting it all together. So the content gathering is the grunt work, and that's like getting the author interviews, sending them,
Mhm.
and coordinating all that, which I do in advance, and also finding all the bookmarks and maybe thinking about what I want to talk about in my like little introduction thing. So a lot of it is like that's one side of my brain, and the other side is okay, I have the content, then I can just write it. So I try to get the content over a period of time, like the 2 weeks leading up to the clues letter. So at least then I can sit down like the night before. I usually do it the night before, and I just write
Mhm.
it all. And it's hopefully easier. But yeah, it is. It's kind of grown because when I first started it, it was a pretty basic setup. I mean, the interview was there, but they were a lot shorter. And
Mhm.
I have a few different sections that have kind of grown and evolved. And some things I've made easier for myself, and some things I've added more to. So, um, thank you for the compliments about it though, because
Yeah.
I do spend a lot of time on it, and it's like a passion project that's turned into kind of a community thing. So I
Mhm.
appreciate like talking to people about it. Yeah.
How often do you put it out?
It's every 2 weeks. So
Every
it's
2 weeks. Okay.
pretty manageable,
All right.
I would
Yeah,
say.
it's hard because I think you've done an excellent job of making it interesting and informative and pretty. And so I'm on a ton of mailing lists, right, for my day
Mm,
job for, the graphic design. And I'm just like, I'm in the authors and I just kind of get sick of the sell, 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 like buy my book, buy my book. And
mhm.
even the newsletter swaps, buy this person's book, buy that person's book. And so it's refreshing to like see a newsletter that actually has fun information, right, that you look forward to.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that too because I subscribe to a lot of author newsletters because I want to know what authors are doing. And
Mhm.
some of them are better than others. And I think the ones that are really great are high value in some way
Mhm.
or has really good writing in it. And I know that the general email advice for email marketing is to email pretty frequently, but I'd rather get like a monthly newsletter versus like a weekly one that is like a couple paragraphs. So when I open it, I really want to read it,
Mhm.
so
Yeah,
I
I don't know
agree.
about that theory. There was this, what was it? There was another person, I can't remember what it was called, but they were like, we email every single day, and this is a
Mhm,
really great strategy, and you should try it too. So I signed up for their newsletter, and what happened was I just don't have time to read it. I don't even
mhm.
know what it's saying. It's way too much text, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to read this. And so now I just have a habit of deleting it every day.
Yeah. And is that? Because I have so many emails I just delete instead of
Right.
unsubscribing. Like I'm not interested in some of these anymore.
Right. Exactly.
But yeah, and then you kind of get a grudge, or you have this connotation with somebody, with whoever's sending you that email, like, oh,
Mhm.
I know what your emails are like, and
Right.
yeah,
I think it goes
it's
back to
hard.
like quantity over quality. So I feel like
Hmm.
because of social media, and this is just my theory, that it's kind of made people think it's better to just put out a lot of quantity of low quality instead of just putting out low quantity with a very high quality one thing here or there.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah,
coming over to
absolutely.
email and blog posts and everything else.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree, and I think like every 2 weeks for me seems to be a good sweet spot to where I can write that much stuff in
Hmm.
2 weeks. Like I can find the content in that, but it's enough contact to be kind of remembered more
Yeah.
quickly. Like it's not a monthly, it's like a little bit more, but not weekly to where like I would literally have nothing to say
Hmm.
if I did it any more frequent. So
For
if
sure.
anybody's listening and they're like, should I start an email list? I think biweekly is a good place to start.
Yeah, exactly. So on top of like the reading, the book talk, the bookstagram, the newsletter, you actually have a day job, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Like, what do you do? And it's author imprint, right? And what is it? And
Hmm.
what's going on there?
So author imprints. So we're a family business, and my dad is my boss, and
Mhm.
my coworker technically. But we are a self-publishing services company, or you could call it assisted self-publishing. So we help authors create and publish and promote their books. And so it's kind of like we're a publisher, but we're not, because the author keeps all the royalties and all the ISBNs, and the registration info is in their name. So um, generally what I do every day is just working with books before I go read books. It's a lot of like author communication and book proofing and fun stuff like that. So I feel really lucky to have that kind of job. It's very interesting.
So you work with your dad, but you also, is Carter your brother?
He is, yeah.
Okay. So everyone's
He
working there.
yeah, he does the audio side of things, and he does that pretty freelance depending on the demand for it. But he has another job. He works in podcasting actually.
Oh,
So um, yeah, it's a family business. It's kind of fun.
yeah, very good. Did your dad have that before you, like when you were in high school and when you were young, or is this very recent?
He founded, I don't know when he founded Author Imprints. I think it was 2011. So I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been around for a while. And then I graduated college and I started working part time just while I was job hunting. And then we decided to start doing it full time, just because it seemed like there was more demand for that kind of work and I could do it. And so it's kind of grown from there. And now I feel like I'm really invested in this company and I really love doing it. And I feel lucky that I have the kind of dad that you would want to work for. um, but yeah,
Well, do you guys have an office or is everybody remote?
we're remote. Yeah.
Okay.
So we have like other people that we work with. We have book designers, cover designers, and editors, and like people we refer out to. So the whole business is remote, which is interesting because we were fully remote before COVID. And
Mm-hmm.
then COVID hit and everybody went remote. And now everybody wants to do like Zoom and stuff. And so, like, and we weren't doing that before because we were used to, you know, doing our normal thing. But now everybody seems to understand remote work a little bit better. So it's been kind of interesting.
Nice. And so are you doing all different subgenres of books or do you guys
hmm
focus on one area?
We do, well, I'll tell you generally, I mean, we don't like turn away books because of content usually.
Mm-hmm.
We do a lot of nonfiction, a lot of business books. So people will come to us with like a book for their brand. It's like a book business card type of thing. So that's kind of a huge part of it. I do like doing novels though, because we get those every once in a while and those are always really fun to format. And sometimes I like to read a little bit while I work. But yeah, it's mostly, I would say, nonfiction and
Okay.
memoir. Yeah.
So are you mostly, you're doing the formatting of the books and then marketing them, or what is your, I guess you probably do a lot of stuff there.
Yeah, so my role is technically I'm like a publishing operations manager. So
Mm-hmm.
so we have a book designer and she designs the book in InDesign, and then I get it and I proof it and we go back and forth to make sure it's right, and then we send it to the client. But I do a lot of the like project management from that book design to the client, and then like account setups and all sorts of things that are required in publication, ebook proofing, which is a whole different kind of thing. But yeah, it's really like if I were to publish my own book, like a self-published
Mm-hmm.
book, like I feel like I could do that pretty easily because I know the process really well. But it's a lot of interfacing with clients and designer and all that stuff.
All right, cool. What do you love most about your job?
Oh, working with my dad is pretty cool. But no, it's really just getting a chance to work with books. I know a lot of people want to do that, and it's interesting because I don't work with like a big five, and I think when people think about publishing, they think, oh, you must work for Penguin Random House or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. But independent publishing is growing, and it's only getting better and more serious. So I just feel very lucky to do such a unique job in publishing. Um, but yeah, working with books is very fun.
Cool. And anything you don't like about your job or anything you don't like about the industry or you wish that would change or be different?
Ooh, well, I think just about the industry, I think we're in an interesting arena right now with publishing because self-publishing is so big that traditional publishers are looking at indies and seeing like what they're doing and kind of matching it. And then like from an author perspective, I think there's a lot of predatory companies out there like hybrid publishers. They call themselves hybrid publishers and they kind of prey on authors who don't know a lot about the industry. And so it's frustrating to see people getting taken advantage of by people who just, want to publish their book with they don't have like the expertise needed to do that. And so I mean, I don't know if you're ever on Reddit, but there's a lot of commentary on hybrid publishing and like the self-publishing forums because people get reached out to about that. And so it, when you work in independent publishing and you see that happening, it is frustrating to see that. So if anybody is an author, I would say like just know your business and really arm yourself with like a lot of knowledge because if you ever get approached in those kind of situations, protect yourself and protect your work. But out of my actual job, I don't think there's anything I'm particularly like frustrated by. It's just a lot of knowing people and client relationships, which I think everybody can kind of relate to.
Okay. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. So I find Reddit frustrating mostly because I'll go on there because it'll come up sometimes on a search result, right? And maybe I'm researching something for the book like best lattes or most popular for this area for Christmas. And then it'll say peppermint lattes, pumpkin spice. And then all of a sudden someone will be like, I have a squirrel. And I've named him Bob. And I'm like, wait, how did this get in there? So I'll find that in the Reddit feed because no one's really like monitoring them usually. So.
Yeah. It's all user based and it could be a little bit like a Wild West out there. Yeah.
So I just don't have patience for that. But sometimes you can find interesting things on there.
Yeah.
So what are Author Imprint's plans for 2024?
Well, we are toying around right now with the idea of a podcast. So we're not sure how what the layout is going to be, but I'll probably be hosting it. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, I think we're just kind of doing what we've always done, but we're getting better every day. And I don't think we have any big plans other than that podcast, which I'll announce eventually, probably.
I mean, it seems a shame not to do a podcast when your brother is a podcast professional.
I know. And he's so good at it. Like I've done test podcasts for the Clues letter actually. And he's done like entire sound design for it. This cute, like little bossa nova intro and like it's very cozy feeling. So I'm hoping we can kind of do something fun with it and make it a podcast that's fun and like high value again. And about publishing.
Very cool. Well, and so I guess for you personally, then, what are your content creation plans for 2024 for the Bookstagram, TikTok, and all of that?
I have been trying to post a lot more on TikTok, but right now I'm not sure what's going to happen with that app. So, because is it going to get banned in the US? I don't know. But I consider it good practice because I think filming yourself is really good practice. And I had this other idea this year to get started on YouTube, which is another platform to kind of plan for. So I have to think about like what I'm currently doing and, how to divide my energy up efficiently between like all my platforms. So haven't quite figured that out yet, but YouTube is definitely on my list because I think like I'd love to have a Booktube account.
Okay, cool. And have you looked at Lemon8 at all?
I've heard of it, but I haven't looked into that.
I actually really like Lemon8, which is funny because I don't like TikTok at all. Like as a consumer, I don't like TikTok, but I love Lemon8, and they're created by the same person. And so Lemon8 was always supposedly TikTok's plan in case TikTok gets banned. They're going to try to push that format. It's like a cross between Pinterest and Instagram. And I don't know why. I just like it's visual. Sometimes it has video, and then it has really long blog posts. It's like
maybe I'll look into that too because that sounds really fun.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm not even like that active on TikTok, but I started downloading my TikToks because I was like, oh, well, if it gets banned, then I'll just re-upload them, I guess, later to Instagram as Reels.
Yeah. I mean, I've Absolutely. Or YouTube shorts. Everybody's
Yeah.
trying to do the same
Exactly.
thing. So it's good to
Mhm.
have that kind of content. And I've been trying to actually film outside of the TikTok app, like external videos, and then I
Mhm.
edit them in CapCut or whatever. And that way you can kind of cross post really
Right.
effectively. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's a big deal. I think if TikTok were to get banned, which I really don't think that'll happen anyway, but even if it did,
Yeah.
somebody will create something and it'll just
Yeah.
so it'll just
Yeah.
be an opportunity for somebody else to step in.
Exactly.
Yeah. So if readers are listening right now, where can they find you? What should they do? Should they sign up for the newsletter? Should they follow you? What do you where should
Yeah. So I think the easiest thing is just go to my Instagram, which is at Mystery Manon, because I
Mhm.
have a link in my bio that has all the links in it. That's like you can sign up for the clues letter that way. Or I think you can go to cluesletter.com and it'll redirect you to my website. But yeah, I'd love to connect. I'm pretty good at answering DMs on Instagram. So if you have like any specific questions or comments, then um, I always check those.
Awesome. Very cool. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on here. I know this is a long interview. You just had so many interesting things to talk about. So thanks for
Thank
sharing
you,
everything.
Lisa. Yeah, it was great to be here. I love talking about what I do in mysteries, especially.
Very cool. All right. I will leave all of Manon's contact information in the description or the show notes if you're watching this on the podcast. But I hope everyone has a great day and we'll